Welcome to a very special edition of Globe Watch with me, Charles Ebune. Tarnished from Deflategate to corporate espionage and from corruption to doping scandals. The world of sport is simply sick and it needs a messiah to clean the mess today. The revolution, which had started at Athletics Federation, of course, has had an impact across the world today with the election of a new executive to manage world's football governing body, FIFA, with Gianni Infantino being the outcome of what had been described as the final culmination of cleaning a system wrapped in the mud because of corruption. At athletics, the situation is not quite different. The WADA report produced months ago produced an unprecedented record of failure of tests of artists who have won medals in the place of others simply because they practices which were not welcomed by the sporting agency. Today, the latest revelation has been that of Maria Sharapova, who has shocked the world of athletics with the fact that she took a test which, of course, produced counterproductive results. And athletics in particular today needs somebody to clean the mess. So what can be done in particular to save athletics from embarrassment and restore sanity in what seemed to be called over the years as the golden sport? My guest today is the most authoritative and the most authorized voice in the domain. As a commons and as one of British best athletes over the centuries, he was a member of parliament before becoming Her Majesty's Chief of Staff Opposition in the years of William Hague, and was the chairman of the London 2012 Olympic Games, equally serving as the pioneer chairperson of FIFA's Ethics Committee. Today he serves as the president of the International Association of Athletics Federation. Can he deliver at a time of rough business? My guest, Lord Sebastian Coe. Lord Sebastian Coe, welcome to Globe Watch.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here again.
Let me start with your personal connection with athletics. Are you a happy president of IAAF today?
I'm a happy president because I'm serving a sport that I love, that I'm passionate about, and that has given me everything that I enjoy in life.
You just said that you are happy, so the unending scandals involving doping do not scare you?
They are challenges, but they're not the only challenges in our sport. And of course, they're not the only challenges in athletics. Global doping has been a problem for many years. It manifests itself in many, many different ways, as we've seen this week in tennis. So my responsibility is not to benchmark our sport, our great sport of athletics, against other sports. It's to put changes in place that will return trust to the IAAF and trust to our athletes.
I've seen you across media organizations today, and you have repeatedly used the word restoration of trust. We'll be coming there in a moment, but just describe to me, how do you qualify the current doping scandals?
They are a problem, but they're not the only problems that our sport confronts. You know, we have to remember that the biggest challenge athletics faces is getting more young people into our sport. Doping has to be resolved. We're never going to entirely resolve it because that's human nature. A few people will always step outside of the norms and the boundaries, but my responsibility as the president of the IAAF is always to make sure our member federations, my own organization, have systems that are robust and secure and that the clean athletes can trust in.
Let me just give you a quotation of your standing orders, or if you like, your constitution. Quote, eradicating doping from sport and safeguarding the authenticity and identity of athletics remains a crucial part of your business. You know what happened with the Russian Athletics Federation?
Yes.
Why did you guys fail in your mission?
No, the issue is a very simple one. We need to put those systems in place that make sure. But, you know, this isn't a single country problem. This is about having systems that are safe and secure and making sure that the council, my council, is always in a position to challenge me, to challenge those systems and have as much information as they possibly can. And that is exactly what I'm doing now.
The last time you were a guest on this program is when you were running to become president of the IAAF. And I told you that you are a very clean man entering in a world where there is a lot of bad business. Do you regret today? Because essentially what I told you finally happened just 2 weeks after you were elected.
Well, let me be really clear with you. You made a journalistic observation that was not based, I presume, on anything of fact, because if it was based on fact, then you should, of course, have reported that to the ethics board, and you would have been in breach of that board had you not done that. So I presume you will wrestle with your own conscience on that. But the issue for us is very simple, and that is that those things that we need to do have come on my watch, and as president of the organization, that is what I need to deal with in my responsibility, and to create systems that people can trust in. And I use the word trust a lot, but it is a very, very important trust. And I do make the point broadly. You just said you had information and you had evidence. Well, then I make this point to everybody, whether they're journalists, whether they're clean athletes, whether they're member federations. You have the opportunity to do that. And I think we need more than people saying, oh, well, we think this is happening. If they know it is happening, then help us. Help us get that information into the public domain.
You have repeatedly used the word trust. You are just barely about roughly 8 months into business now.
6.
6 months, roughly. How are you going to clean an organization whose reputation has been terribly tarnished?
Well, you will, because you're a good journalist, you will have seen all those proposals that got passed on Thursday and Friday in Monaco, our headquarters. These are exactly the things that we need to put in place.
Such as?
Well, you saw them.
I saw them, but not a majority of my audience saw them.
Okay, so we need to sort out our corporate governances. We need to make sure that we have proper ways of identifying risk and conflicts, that we are creating a work reform group that will rewrite our constitution, make sure the constitution is a modern constitution fit for a modern sport. That we have an independent integrity unit that will deal not just with anti-doping, but maybe with transfer of allegiance, issues of age manipulation, making sure that there are no corrupt practices around the athletes, that we have an investigative arm, so we can look at the entourage, we can look at the coaches, we can look at sometimes the doctors, even the federations. All these are the proposals that I think we need to put in place to make sure that the trust that you quite rightly refer to is embedded.
I think, if I'm not wrong, last Friday, I heard you giving and putting some countries on a critical list situation. Kenya, there were roughly about 5 of them. What actually is wrong?
We wanted to make sure that they have anti-doping processes, systems domestically that really are creating out of competition and in competition testing programs. And we were concerned, and these are not sanctions, this is not a discipline, these are recommendations. Each and every one of those federations has agreed on the timeline that we've put in place. And it is to make sure that their athletes are able to compete internationally with safe and secure systems behind them, and that we are more proactive than we have been in the past.
Lord Sebastian, you just said a while ago that the facts or the picture I painted to you during our first interview was not backed by But statistics, that is why.
No, I didn't say that at all.
Okay.
No, I need you to correct that. That's not.
We had problems.
No, that is not remotely what I just
let's
said.
keep that
is
aside.
your interpretation.
Okay.
We take those allegations extremely seriously.
serious.
We have acted upon them. We've had 2 independent commission reports. We haven't had an ethics board report. There are still police investigations, and we welcome the media
just
interest.
listen to what some British newspapers published August last year. They said that 1,000 something plus athletes had blood test problems coming from roughly 500 artists across the world in over 208 countries. These are statistics from the Sunday Times, and had uncovered more than 1,400 abnormal tests from more than 800 athletes. And when the media put that information, this is what you said. It was not a criticism of any journalism or any media. It was simply a reaction to the selective use of data to call into question the reputation of clean artists, of clean athletes.
Yes.
And probably you were backing somebody like Maria Sharapova today, who has terribly disappointed you.
Well, you're confusing 2 sports. I have no intention of making observations about tennis.
Okay.
And if you read the conclusions of the 2nd Independent Commission report, they were very clear about the selective use of the information that you've just talked about.
Okay. You had a meeting here in Yaoundé today. I just want you to abundantly tell me about what you people were discussing here in Yaoundé.
We were talking, I had the opportunity to explain to them the changes that I want to make. I was very pleased that those changes were welcomed. We had further discussion about what kind of things we need to put in place, particularly to help Africa in its journey, and the broader discussion about making sure that we understand the challenges around transfer of allegiance, that we have anti-doping processes, and that we are not afraid of taking these challenges face on, which is what our sport will do.
Okay. There are so many challenges facing the Federation today. What do you personally intend to do as Lotco? You are one of the best athletes we know in your various fields across history to build the trust you are talking about. You talked a while ago from a governance perspective, from a personal perspective. What do you intend to inject?
All the things we've talked about. This is not a personal journey. This is a journey that I've been given the opportunity to shape on behalf of the sport, and I will work together, and that is exactly why I'm in Yaoundé today, to talk to the African Council. I'm not an absent landlord. I don't just throw out directives from the headquarters. I want those directives to be properly understood and shaped by my colleagues, as they have been today.
A lot has been criticized about what happened in London 2012 with what happened with the Russian Federation. You spent 16 years alongside somebody you qualified as your spiritual leader, Diak, whom you took over and who is under investigation. Do you think that what happened to Platini vis-a-vis Blatter can happen to you?
I don't really understand the nature of your question.
You
but
spent 16 years.
My responsibility.
You spent 16 years working with Diak.
I was a member of a council.
Good.
I now have the opportunity to help shape the future of that council.
Let me ask you a question which has to be a bit out of athletics, because I know you have many other titles to handle. Last time, our separating question was about your personal thoughts about the British referendum. This year will be held finally.
I never discuss politics.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go back to athletics. I just want you to explain to me that why do you think there were so many errors in terms of testing with athletes across the world?
I don't think there have been that many errors. I think there have been some real challenges. I think that our testing systems, as the WADA independent report concluded, were actually in large part pretty good. Can we be better? Yes, of course we can. We need to make sure that the national anti-doping agencies are doing their work, that WADA, we work very closely with alongside, are the They're the ones that are really driving that change. So my responsibility is to make sure that our systems are as good as they possibly can, right level of resource.
One but last question. What do you intend to do particularly to make sure that the testing system becomes sustainable? Because for the past years, it has not been sustainable, and that is why we are having so many problems with doping.
No, I think
you need more transparency.
No, I think the testing system is sustainable. And again, you would have seen from the WADA report what they said about our testing systems. What we need to make sure is that the whole landscape is working more closely and more collaboratively together, and that we give athletes, the clean athletes, the knowledge that it doesn't really matter where they are, the same systems are going to protect them.
A word about Rio 2016.
I think Rio will be a very successful Games. I'm going there to see some of the test events in the next few weeks, and to re-establish athletics as the #1 Olympic sport.
Any comment about the recent cross-country which took place in Cameroon, Africa?
Very, very pleased to hear. I heard a very good report this morning in the council about the number of athletes that were here and the quality of the competition. And I look forward in Durban in June to being at the African Track and Field Championships as well.
Final question. Stephen Saka, who handles Hard Talk on BBC, asked you a question, and you said you are not in for lifetime banning. And I asked you the same question, and you said you are not for it. With the recent mutations of what you have seen, have you changed your views on lifetime ban?
No, I've never changed my views. I have always believed that ultimately a lifetime ban is very important. But I live in the real world. This has been tried many, many times, many legal systems, many federations, the International Olympic Committee, the international federations have looked at that, and we have consistently been advised that that is not going to get carried in civil law. So we were very keen to make sure that the 2-year ban, which was never enough.
So if you have shocking revelations of people like Usain Bolt failing tests and
well,
whatsoever, that will not change your position?
No, you're not really listening remotely to the answer I've just given you.
All my ears are to you now.
I've made it very clear. My instinct is always to take the cheats out of the sport. But legally, we have looked at this, and we are assured by those legal teams and those people that have looked at this in great detail on behalf of governments, on behalf of federations, on behalf of sports organisations, that a 4-year ban is probably the most we're likely to get. But of course, in athletics, a second ban is followed by a lifetime ban.
The President of the International Association of Athletics Federation, Lord Sebastian, thank you very much indeed for being guest on Globe Watch.
Thank you.
You're
a
welcome.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Some few questions about CRTV. URT, which you are chairman, is in a transitional situation, just like the Cameroon Radio Television, where you are the Director General, because we are progressively moving to digital broadcasting. And those who watch CRTV, when they meet some of us around the streets of Yaoundé, Boya, and Douala, and they say that, you know, Amadou Vamoke is running a farce, which is not a reality. How do you convince them that CRTV is really moving to digital broadcasting?
First of all, I think that everybody who watches CRTV sees from, on a day-to-day basis, changes coming and shown to them. So unless you are of bad faith, you cannot but recognize that CRTV is changing. Now, as for the rest, well, let them come and see the transmitters, the new transmitters being installed. Let them come and see all the computerized equipment that we'll have to...
Well, Mr. Director General, they will tell you that, well, you may say that they have bad faith, but they will tell you that you appointed officials, the board nominated them, and they said that there will be 6 channels, no dates of opening, nothing, 6 channels, and they ask the question, CRTV is unable to run a single channel, but they claim they want to run 6 channels. Is that realistic?
It is. We held a 4-hour meeting today to fix all the time frame. When are we going to launch the first channel, when are we going to launch the second, and the others. So everything has been decided.
Can you give them any specifics for the one everybody is waiting for the moment, the CRTV news channel? When is it coming on?
Well, I believe that probably in at most in 3 months.
In 3 months' time. One blame of our viewers, those watching CRTV, is that this is the only television channel on earth where programs don't start on time, where they don't end on time. How do you solve this problem? If you tell Cameroonians that on Sunday they will have Sunday press at 9 p.m., it will never be on the air.
Never? Are
Simply,
you serious?
it will never start on the air
Certainly
at 9 p.m.
not.
It will never start on the air at 9 p.m. And that is what we have told the audience. And the French news in particular has never ended on time. Mr. Director General, why is it that in CRTV the French news will never end on time? What is so special in that news that it is always too long?
You are supposed to know better than me because you are running a program. And I think that maybe you are part of the problem. The runner of a program or the director of the program. I don't know exactly what happens, but I did not have the impression that the few cases where we do not start on time can be generalized to the situation. And especially as the program is run by a computer. So maybe you can complain that sometimes we don't do what we have to do on time, but it cannot be a general rule.
Okay, probably the last question before we separate. In front of me is a decision you just signed, ordering all producers and those who run programs in CRTV that their programs limit for CRTV to remain a professional channel must be 13 minutes, 26 minutes, 52 minutes, 88 minutes. You know what, Mr. Director General? I have some of your directors who have told me that they will never respect this text. Do you regret signing it?
No, especially as it is the standard all over the world.
But they have told me that this is outdated, that this is something of 1920.
All right. So you prefer to believe them rather than me? What I'm telling you is what should be and what is going to take place.
And this is what is going to take place.
Of course.
This means that, as you have written on this tag, if somebody does not do this program for 30 minutes, 26 minutes, 52 minutes, 88 minutes for a program which is regular, it should never be aired, right?
Well, this is so it might be aired, but the gentleman who is responsible for this is certainly going to be sanctioned.
It's going to be sanctioned.
Yes.
I just want you to tell our audience if you have any good news for them in the days ahead vis-a-vis CRTV.
Well, neither God nor Godfather, but I think it suffices for me to tell them that this CRTV house is, as has already been said, the heart of the nation. It is the house. We want to rely on them to create, produce, and air excellent programs, and we are going to improve our output day by day because new equipment are going to come to be acquired, and the staff is there, more and more enthusiastic. So I believe that CRTV every year will never be like the past year.
Okay, finally, Mr. Director General, I asked you a question I have asked earlier on this program, and this question was asked by a Cameroonian in the diaspora. And I put the question to Cameroon television head Charles Ndongo, one of our celebrated journalists in the country. There is no debate about that. And the question was, the French news is always too long. It will never end on time, and they don't understand why the French news is always longer than the news in the English language. As the Director General of CRTV, the person responsible for the final content of news on this channel, why does the French news never end on time?
Well, I think that the best placed person to give an answer is the director, the central director of television. Because to my view, there has never been any instruction that the French program should be longer than the English one. And to some extent, it is not an advantage being longer, because as you know, you have to manage the mind of the viewer that is not always willing to listen to newscasts that never end. So if what you are saying is the reality, then the English cast is more professional than the French cast, newscast.
The chairman of URT and Director General of the Cameroon Radio Television, Amadou Vamoke, I'm afraid we have to end here. Thank you very much for being guest on Globe Watch.
Thank you for having me, and I wish you well. I see that you are doing a good job, and I encourage you to continue.
You're welcome. You're
Thank
welcome,
you.
sir.